بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How are you, my students? I hope that you're happy and healthy and ready for today's lesson, which is the project of Unit 4. Please open your workbooks, page 117. Open your workbooks, page 117. And you can look at this picture or the same picture on your book. You can see students having a test or an exam. I think the exam is pretty hard. You can notice from the expressions on the students' faces that the exam is a little bit hard on them. Study the picture and imagine how the students feel about the test. So study the picture. Study the picture. Look at the picture and study it. Notice their faces. Write notes on the cause and effect of their actions before writing the test. So we'll be filling the chart, of course. Write notes on the cause and effect of their actions before writing the test. Then write sentences to describe what they could have done differently to feel better about the test. Use past hypothetical conditionals. Use the past hypothetical conditionals. So this is the cause and effect chart. Then we, of course, will be writing here three sentences. So, for example, the first one, the cause, didn't pay attention in class. That's why they're having hard time in the test. Maybe they didn't pay attention in the class. This is the cause. The effect, they found the test difficult. So cause and effect. You can tell from the picture that maybe the student didn't pay attention in the class. That's why they found the test was difficult. So give me another one. Give me another cause and effect now that you understand how this exercise is going. So give me another cause and effect that you can tell just by looking at the picture. Okay, so let me give you what I wrote in the second one. Didn't study. So just as simple as that. The cause is that the student didn't study. So what's the effect? Of course, when a student doesn't study, we have lots and lots of effects. So, but here in our situation here, the effect would be failed the test. So later on, maybe they failed the test. Why? Because they or he or she didn't study. So the first one, didn't pay attention in class, found the test difficult. The second one, didn't study, failed the test. So give me a third one now, cause and effect. Yes, okay, very good. But let's see what I've written here. Studied through the night because they were sleepy. So a little bit here. Studied through the night because they were sleepy. Made mistakes. So they studied through the night because they were sleepy. So the effect here is that they answered the test, they didn't fail, but they made some mistakes. So of course, you know, the suitable way, the best way to study is to sleep well, of course. Don't study through the night, study through the day and sleep through the night. So here we have three causes. Didn't pay attention in class, didn't study, studied through the night because they were sleepy, and the effects here, found the test difficult, failed the test, and made some mistakes. Now we will be writing some sentences using these cause and effects. For example, the first one, if they had paid more attention in class, so we're talking about the first one here. If they had paid more attention in class, they wouldn't have found the test difficult. If they had paid more attention in class, this is hypothetical, of course. Did they pay attention in class? No, they didn't. They wouldn't have found the test difficult. So the effect here, they found the test difficult. This is the if clause, of course, and this is the result clause. So do the same thing for the second one. Didn't study, failed the test. This is an easy one. Yes. If they had studied, they would have answered more questions and, of course, resulting to not failing the test. So if they had studied, because they didn't study here, so this is hypothetical. Did they study? No, they didn't. If they had studied, they would have answered more questions. And the last one, if they hadn't stayed up through the night, they wouldn't be sleepy. So if they hadn't stayed up all the night, they wouldn't be sleepy. Jumping to exercise K here, page 118. Move to page 118. Exercise K, writing. Write about a time you faced a dilemma. How did you make a decision about what to do? Do you remember the meaning of the word dilemma? Yes, it's being in a situation where you don't know what to do. What's the correct thing? What's the ethical, the moral thing to do? Just like Russ in the airport when he saw an old man falling on the ground and he wanted to catch his flight to go to his brother's wedding. So he didn't know what to do. What's the correct thing to do? To catch the flight or help the old man. But of course, we know what he decided in the end, just to catch the flight so he doesn't miss his brother's wedding. So again, exercise K, write about a time you faced a dilemma. How did you make a decision about what to do? So try to think of a time that you faced maybe the same situation, a dilemma, and try to remember what you did and how did you decide on what to do. How did you make a decision about what to do? So before you write, make notes in the chart. Describe the dilemma. What did you decide to do? How did you make your decision? What factors did you consider? How would things have been different if you had made different decision? How would things have been different if you had chose to do another thing? How old were you? Where would you have fit in Kohlberg's theory? So describe the dilemma, what did you decide to do, and so on. For example, I've written here, my friend cheating in the exam. This is my dilemma. I remember I saw one of my friends cheating on the exam. Of course, you can write about your own dilemma here. What did you decide to do? After the exam, I talked to my friend and convinced him to confess to the teacher. So I didn't blow the whistle on him. I didn't tell the teacher immediately in the exam. But after the exam, I talked to my friend and convinced him to go and confess to the teacher, and the teacher gave him a second chance. How did you make your decision? What factors did you consider? What factors did you consider? Of course, the factors are what is right and the value of our friendship. Of course, because if I told on him during the exam, maybe my friendship with my friend would be over. So what is right is that I convince him to confess to the teacher is better than blowing the whistle on him, especially that it was his first time. So what is right? This is the factors, of course, because this is right. What is right and the value of our friendship, how things have been different if you had made how would things have been different if you had made a different decision? How old were you? And so on. Our friendship would have been over if I had told on him. So if I had made a different decision to blow the whistle on him, I think that our friendship would have been over that if I told on him. And how old were you? I was 17 years old. So once you have filled this chart by your own dilemma and your own answers to this dilemma, what was the dilemma, what did you do, what you think that would have been different if you chosen a different path to solve this dilemma. So now that you have filled the chart, use your notes from the chart to write your essay. Now you have a chart full of your notes. Now write your essay about this dilemma that you faced. Moving on to exercise L here, page 119. Complete the online blog about ethics and technology. Use the verb in parenthesis and the future progressive or future perfect tense. You remember the future progressive and the future perfect tense from the for meaning function, of course. This is the title here. The technology is ready now, but are we ready for it? The technology is ready now, but are we ready for it? This is a nice title for this article. So let's read it together and fill these gaps, because it says here, complete online blog about ethics and technology. Use the verb in the parentheses. Here, the verb we have become, use, attend. The first one is already done, the verb reach, and so on. We answer it by writing about the future progressive and the future perfect. So let's read it here together. Technology has completely changed the way we live and work, and it will continue to do so in the future. According to a market forecast, 5 years from now, e-learning, and the verb here is reach. The verb here is reach, and of course this one is already answered. Will have reached. Will have reached. This is, of course, a future perfect. Will have reached a volume of nearly $6 billion in the highest buying markets. This amount will be spent on packaged content, development services, learning platforms, tool hosting services, authoring software, and platform installation. Higher education, and the verb become the largest buyer by the end of the forecast period. So, higher education, become the largest buyer by, notice here, by the end of the forecast period. And the verb here is become. So, do we use the future progressive, the future perfect? What to do here? So, let's see the correct answer here. Will have become. So, we use the future perfect. Will have become the largest buyer by the end of the forecast period. More than 3 million students in the US attended virtual schools. So, number 3, more than 3 million students in the US attend virtual schools. So the verb here in number 3 is attend. So the correct answer here is will be attending. So we chose here the future progressive. The future progressive will be attending virtual schools, because we're talking about something that will be in progress in the future. Something that will be in progress in the future. We're not talking about two events. Virtual schools and more corporations use e-learning platforms for the meeting and training sessions. So, more than 3 million students in the US will be attending virtual schools, and more corporations use e-learning platforms for the meeting and training sessions. So, number 4 here is use. So, what to write here? The verb here is use. And more corporations will be using. So it's the same thing. We're talking about something that will be in progress in the future. And more corporations will be using e-learning platforms for meetings and training sessions. Moreover, rapid developments in robotics and AI here meaning artificial intelligence, will mean that soon we will all be able to study or work remotely from the comforts of our home. We will send our robot to school or the office instead. By the year 2025, it's quite possible that some households will own a robot to carry out porter-style tasks, such as delivering and carrying packages. By 2030, experts believe that robotics develop so significantly that smart robots will be capable of performing autonomously. So, by 2030, experts believe that robotics So we're talking about two events here, two things. Yes, so we use the future perfect because we have two events here. By 2030, this is the first one. The second one, experts believe that robotics will have developed so significantly that smart robots will be capable of performing autonomously and make common sense decisions. By 2050, some scientists believe that smart robots reach such a high level of intelligence that they will be able to provide emotional care and companionship to the elderly and sick. So, number 6, by 2050, just when you see this one, you know the answer, of course. By 2050, some scientists believe that smart robots and the verb reach, beginning the sentence with by 2050. So we have two events. Of course, the answer will have reached. Will have and the perfect. Will have reached such a high level of intelligence that they will be able to provide emotional care and companionship to the elderly and sick. This is the lesson from our previous lesson. Of course, the four meaning function, the future progressive, the one we just answered, the future progressive, the form is will, be, and the present participle to talk about continuous action in the future, actions in progress in the future. And the future perfect is used to express the idea that an action will be completed in the future before another event. So we have two things, two events, two actions, or before another specific time. So an action will be completed before another event, or will be completed before another specific time in the future. And the form of the future perfect is will have plus the past participle. Of course, and we studied the time expressions for the future, a week from today, by the year 2025, by the time, and then you continue, what time are you talking about? Then we learned about used to and be used to. Used to plus the base form to talk about a habit from the past that you don't do anymore, and be used to plus the gerund or a noun to talk about something that has become familiar or habitual. So we're talking about the present. Of course, we also learned about was or were going to, future in the past, when we were talking about the future in past event. The form here is was or were plus going to plus the base form of the verb. I was going to help him. I was going to pay, for example, and so on, to talk about future plans in the past. Jumping to today's lesson, the project research groundbreaking methods of treatment, gather information about new groundbreaking methods of treatment and procedures used in Saudi Arabia. Fill the chart with notes. Number 1 here, have you heard or read about new groundbreaking methods of treatment of virus or diseases here? Try to find out by talking to each other. So try to find out, is there any groundbreaking in the medical category about a virus or a disease like cancer? So try to discuss this with your friends among each other. Have you ever read an article talking about that? Number 2, work in pairs or in groups. Research and find out about groundbreaking methods of treatment applied in your country. Try to research something that is applied in our country. These treatments or cures might be medicinal or involve surgical procedures. Interview members of your family, talk to your teachers, research the internet, of course. Number 3, gather information about new groundbreaking methods of treatment and procedures used in Saudi Arabia and make notes. So try to learn about groundbreaking methods of treatment here in Saudi Arabia. The treatments or procedures might be used for preventative reasons. Find out which disease conditions they are used for, if they are successful, if there are any side effects, of course, is really important. how they can affect people's lives, how accessible they are, if they are at an initial stage in the beginning, if additional resources, equipment is needed, about plans to extend their application. Number 4, choose one or two of the treatment methods or procedures. Organize your notes under the categories or headings in the chart. Use them to prepare a PowerPoint presentation for your class. So this is the chart here. You have to fill this chart. The groundbreaking procedure, write it here. Target condition, what is the condition? Maybe it's cancer or Alzheimer's and so on. The target patient group, description or the type. The origin, of course, the origin of this treatment. What are the equipment? What the equipment needed for this treatment? Stage of application or the development here. Hospital, institution, or authority. Who is responsible for this treatment? Is it a hospital or an authority or maybe someone else? Physicians, the doctors or the scientists behind this treatment. Rate of success. Rate of success is 100%, 50%, 80%, and so on. The patient's comments. What did the patient say after they received this treatment? The comments of the patients. And with that, we reach the end of this lesson. See you next lesson, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.